So towards the end of last year, we saw a big increase in firearms being used on the streets of England and Wales. It wasn't just a London phenomenon, it was all over the country. But London had more than anywhere else because of the size and the population of the city, and that was at a very high level. But we've used lots of different tactics to try and bring that down, and I'm pleased to say that the figures are falling now, so there is now a decrease of gun crime discharges than there were this time last year, so there have been less now than last year. However, there are still too many, and the men and women of my command will do all they can do to reduce that number. The weapons that are mostly used on the streets of London are either shotguns or handguns. There are other weapons used as well, it's not exclusively those, but those are the two common sources. Where they're coming from varies depending on the weapon used. So if there's an automatic weapon, something like that, that's generally coming from overseas, whereas something like a shotgun will probably have been used here, probably been stolen here within the UK somewhere, and then brought to London and used in a criminal way.
So this is the reference collection of the Forensic Firearms Laboratory. We have approximately 7,500 weapons in here. A significant amount of these have actually been recovered through criminal investigations. Others have been bequeathed to the laboratory, or we've obtained because licence holders no longer want the weapons, etc. And they span everything from air weapons all the way up to military assault weapons, and include shotguns, rifles, handguns. They're all used within casework for comparisons, or if we need components to make a gun that's recovered in crime capable of firing, so we can obtain ballistic material, then we can cannibalise these guns for those parts, so we can achieve that aim. They're also used for training, so as we're training up the scientists or any other bodies that are involved in forensic work, we have essentially the whole history of firearms within this room. Well, every time you fire a bullet or a cartridge in a gun, it leaves a unique fingerprint of that gun on that bullet or on that cartridge case, and it's here where they're looking at that very fine detail to identify that fingerprint. And where comparisons exist, they can then take the item into the manual microscope room, where they then perform manual microscopy to produce the evidence that we can use at a court to confirm that a particular gun or ammunition was linked to a previous or historical crime. And this is the firing range. This piece of equipment here is what we call the remote firer, and this is the piece of apparatus from which we fire adapted, converted, or guns that we're not sure of how they're going to behave when they're actually fired. So we fire them remotely, and we fire the shot down range, but it produces items which we can then use for later comparison with other items we have to see if this particular gun may have been linked to any historical crime.